The stench of unwashed bodies and stale ale hung thick in the brothel's common room as Sir Gareth of Thornfield pushed through the jeering crowd. His mail clinked softly beneath his dark cloak, sword pommel catching the flickering candlelight. 3 days he had tracked the debt collectors who had dragged the blacksmith's daughter from her father's forge. 3 days of following whispers and coin until they led him here. 20 silver pieces for the smith's girl, called out a merchant with wine-stained doublet, raising his goblet. She's untouched, they say. Gareth's jaw tightened. Through the press of bodies he glimpsed her, pressed against the far wall like a cornered doe, her dark hair falling loose from its braid. Her simple brown kirtle was torn at the shoulder, but her chin remained lifted in defiance, even as her hands trembled. She clutched a wooden cross at her throat, lips moving in silent prayer. The brothel keeper, a woman whose painted face couldn't hide the hardness in her eyes, gestured toward the girl. Bidding starts at 15 silver. Look at those eyes, green as spring leaves, and strong hands from working her father's bellows. I'll take her. Gareth's voice cut through the noise like a blade through silk. The room quieted. All eyes turned to the knight who had stepped from the shadows, his bearing unmistakably noble despite his common cloak. The brothel keeper's smile widened with greed. Ah, a lord with taste. 25 silver, then, for such discerning— You mistake me. His hand moved to his sword hilt. I said I'll take her, not buy her. Take her. The merchant laughed nervously. Come now, Sir Knight. Business is business. The girl's father owes 20 silver in debts. Someone must pay. Gareth reached into his purse and drew forth a small leather pouch, letting it fall onto the scarred wooden table with a satisfying clink. 30 pieces of silver, for her father's debts and any inconvenience. His gray eyes swept the room, lingering on each face until men began to shift uncomfortably. But she leaves with me, now, untouched and unharmed. The brothel keeper snatched the pouch, weighing it quickly. Of course, my lord, the girl is yours. She is not mine. Gareth's voice carried steel. She belongs to herself. He crossed to where the girl stood, conscious of every eye upon them. Up close he could see the fear she fought to hide, the rapid flutter of pulse at her throat. But there was something else, a fierce dignity that poverty and terror had not broken. My lady, he said quietly, offering his arm, will you come with me? She stared at him for a long moment, searching his face. You are not here to— Her voice was barely a whisper. I am here to take you home, or wherever you wish to go. You are free. Her green eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. Why?
The question hung between them as the common room watched in tense silence. Gareth felt something shift in his chest, a recognition he couldn't name. Here was courage in the face of despair, grace under the worst circumstances, everything the chivalric code taught him to protect and honor. Because, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room, you're worth more than gold. She took his arm with shaking fingers, and together they walked through the parting crowd. No one dared block their path. Outside, the night air felt clean after the brothel stench. The girl stumbled slightly, and Gareth steadied her with gentle hands. "What is your name?" he asked. "Merewen," she whispered. "Merewen of Millbrook." "Well met, Lady Merewen. I am Sir Gareth." He unfastened his cloak and wrapped it around her shoulders. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though her fingers clutched the cloak gratefully. They did not have time to— She couldn't finish. "Good." Relief flooded his voice. "Can you ride? My horse is just beyond the inn." "I can walk." "You will ride." It was gentle, but firm. "Where shall I take you? Back to your father?" Her face crumpled then, the careful control breaking. "He sold me," she said brokenly, "his own daughter, to pay for his drinking and gambling. I have nowhere to go." Gareth felt anger flare again, not at her, but at a world that would force such choices. "Then you will come with me to Thornfield. My sister Eleanor manages my household. She will welcome you. You can decide your future when you've had time to heal." "You would take a blacksmith's daughter to your noble house?" "I would take a lady of courage wherever she wishes to go."
3 days on the road to Thornfield had given Merewen time to study her rescuer. Sir Gareth rode beside her, never ahead, despite his destrier's eagerness to outpace her gentle palfrey. He spoke little, but his silences felt comfortable rather than cold. When she struggled to mount that first morning, weak from sleeplessness and shock, he had lifted her to the saddle with careful strength, his hands respectful, even in assistance. "Tell me of your sister," Merewen said as they paused beside a stream to water the horses. She had grown tired of her own dark thoughts and found his voice soothing when he chose to use it. Gareth smiled, transforming his stern features. "Eleanor is 2 years my senior and twice as wise. She married young to a lord in the north, but was widowed before her 20th year. Rather than remarry as our father wished, she came to keep house for me." He glanced at Merewen. "She will like you, I think." "How can you know? I am no one, a blacksmith's daughter who nearly—" "You are someone who prayed instead of cursing when faced with the worst fate a maiden can know," Gareth said quietly. "Someone who kept her dignity when others would have broken. Eleanor values such strength." Merewen felt heat rise in her cheeks at his praise. "You see too much good in me, Sir Knight." "Perhaps. Or perhaps you see too little." They rode on in thoughtful silence until the sun began its descent toward the western hills. Gareth chose their stopping place carefully, a small grove near a village church where Merewen might feel safe and he could maintain proper distance. As she dismounted, her kirtle caught on the stirrup leather. The fabric tore further, exposing more of her shoulder than was seemly. She tried to clutch the material closed, but there wasn't enough left to cover properly. "Here," Gareth shrugged out of his surcoat, revealing the plain linen tunic beneath. "This will serve better than my cloak for traveling."
The garment was still warm from his body and smelled of leather and something clean she couldn't name. As she pulled it over her torn gown, she caught him looking away respectfully, studying the tree line as if it held great interest. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything. I don't understand why you help me, but don't you?" His gray eyes met hers, across the small fire he was kindling. "Have you never seen injustice and felt compelled to act?" "I have," she admitted. "When old Henrik's cart overturned last winter and the grain merchant wouldn't extend credit for seed, I gave him my mother's silver bracelet to trade." "And did you expect gratitude? Payment?" "No." Understanding dawned. "I saw need and had means to help." "Just so." He fed small sticks to the growing flame. "Though I confess my motives may not be entirely selfless anymore." Something in his tone made her pulse quicken. "What do you mean?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he said, "I have lived my life by the chivalric code, protecting the innocent, serving my lord, upholding justice. But I never understood why knights in the old songs spoke of rescue as its own reward." He looked at her then, his expression unguarded. "Until I saw your face when you realized you were truly free." "Sir Gareth." "Gareth," he corrected gently.
We have shared bread and road now. Use my name." Gareth. It felt strange on her tongue, intimate in a way that made her heart flutter. "What will happen when we reach Thornfield? I cannot impose on your hospitality forever." "You cannot impose at all. You will be welcome as long as you choose to stay. There are many roles in a noble household for someone skilled and trustworthy. Eleanor manages our weavers, brewers, and household servants. She could use help from someone who understands craftwork. You would make me a servant in your house? I would make you whatever you wish to be, free to choose your own path for perhaps the first time in your life." The concept was dizzying. Freedom to choose. She had never imagined such luxury. "And if I chose something else entirely?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. Their eyes met across the fire. In his gaze, she saw understanding, hope, and something deeper that made her breath catch. "Then I would support that choice as well, whatever it might be." Eleanor of Thornfield proved every bit as welcoming as her brother had promised. A woman of perhaps 30 years, with dark hair and kind brown eyes, she embraced Merewen like a long-lost sister within moments of their arrival. "Thank the Virgin you're safe," Eleanor murmured, leading Merewen toward the great hall. "When Gareth's message arrived saying he'd gone hunting debt collectors, I feared the worst. He has a gift for finding trouble when justice calls." "He saved my life," Merewen said simply. "Yes, he does that." Eleanor's smile held both pride and exasperation. "Come, you must be exhausted. We'll have you bathed and fed, then you can rest." The solar Eleanor led her to was unlike anything Merewen had ever seen. Tapestries warmed the stone walls, depicting scenes of courtly life and noble hunts. A fire crackled in the hearth, and the bed was piled with soft furs and woolen blankets. But what caught her breath was the window. Real glass, not just shuttered openings, letting in colored light that painted rainbows on the floor. "This is too fine," she protested. "I am only—" "You are our guest," Eleanor said firmly. "And from what Gareth tells me, a woman of remarkable courage. That earns you the best we can offer." 3 weeks at Thornfield had given Merewen time to heal and find her place in the household rhythm. Eleanor kept her word about finding useful work. Merewen helped manage the cloth production, her understanding of tools and craft proving valuable. But more than that, she found herself welcomed into the family circle. Evenings in the great hall became her favorite time. After the servants had cleared the tables and most of the household had retired, she would sit near the fire with Eleanor and Gareth, sometimes joined by Father Benedict from the village church. They talked of everything: philosophy, stories of distant lands, the challenges of managing estates and caring for tenants. Gareth often sat across from her during these conversations, his attention seeming to focus on her whenever she spoke. She began to notice small things: how he would save the choicest portions of meat for her trencher, how his eyes followed her when she moved around the hall, or found reasons to walk with her when she visited the village or tended Eleanor's herb garden. "You're falling in love with my brother," Eleanor observed one afternoon as they worked at their embroidery in the solar. Her needle slipped, pricking her finger. "My lady, I would never presume—" "Presume what? That a man might love you for who you are rather than what your father owns?" Eleanor set down her work. "Merewen, I have watched Gareth with every eligible lady within 50 miles. Duchesses and counts' daughters have graced our hall, each hoping to catch his eye. He treated them all with perfect courtesy and complete indifference. I am not—" "You are different. He lights up when you enter a room. He seeks your opinions on matters of estate management, asks your thoughts on justice and mercy.
Yesterday I caught him staring at you during Mass with such longing I feared Father Benedict might need to splash holy water on him." Heat flooded Merewen's cheeks. "Even if what you say is true, there can be no future in it. I am a blacksmith's daughter. He is a knight, a lord. The gulf between us is smaller than you think." Eleanor leaned forward. "Yes, there would be talk. Some families might turn cold shoulders, but Gareth holds his lands directly from the king, owes fealty to no duke or earl who might forbid the match. And you," she smiled, "you have proven yourself in ways that matter more than bloodlines." That evening, Gareth asked Merewen to walk with him in the herb garden. The late summer air carried the scent of lavender and rosemary, and stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "Eleanor says you're considering Brother Marcus's offer," he said as they followed the gravel path between the raised beds. The village priest had indeed suggested Merewen might find peace in the convent at Whitby, serving God rather than any earthly lord. It was an honorable choice for a woman without family protection. "I am considering all my options," she replied carefully. "And what are those options, as you see them?" They had stopped beside the stone fountain at the heart of the garden. Water trickled musically from a carved fish into the circular basin, the sound peaceful in the gathering dusk. "I could take holy vows, or perhaps Eleanor might recommend me to another household as a skilled servant." She kept her voice steady with effort. "There are choices now that I never had before." "Are those the only ones you can imagine?" Something in his tone made her turn to face him. In the starlight, his expression was serious, almost stern, but his eyes held a warmth that made her heart race. "What other choice could there be for someone like me? You could choose to stay here with me, as my wife, if you would have me." The words hung between them like a bridge across an impossible chasm. Merewen felt the world tilt, everything she thought she knew shifting into new patterns. "Gareth, you cannot mean—" "I mean every word." His hands found hers, calloused fingers intertwining. "I know the obstacles. I know what people will say. But I also know that you are the bravest, most gracious woman I have ever met. I know that when I think of growing old, I want it to be beside you. I know that when I rescued you from that place, I didn't understand I was rescuing my own heart as well." Tears spilled down Merewen's cheeks, but she made no move to wipe them away. "You would give up so much for me. Your standing, the respect of other nobles. What good is standing built on others' approval rather than my own choices?" Gareth's thumbs brushed the tears from her face with infinite gentleness. "What good is respect from people who would judge you by your father's station rather than your character? But I bring nothing to such a marriage. No dowry, no connections. You bring yourself." His voice was fierce now, passionate in a way she had never heard. "Your courage, your kindness, your strength. You bring the way you pray for others before yourself, the way you see injustice and act to prevent it, the way you've made this house feel like a true home for the first time since my parents died." She searched his face in the starlight, looking for doubt or hesitation and finding none. "The Church might refuse to bless such a union. Father Benedict has already agreed to perform the ceremony. He says any man blessed enough to win your love should thank God on his knees daily." Gareth smiled, and she saw joy breaking through the intensity. "Eleanor is planning the wedding feast. She was quite confident you would accept." Was she indeed? Despite everything, Merewen found herself laughing through her tears. "And what made her so certain?" "Perhaps the way you look at me when I think I'm not watching, the way you blush when I praise you, the way you've bloomed like a flower in sunlight since you realized you were truly safe and free." His hands tightened on hers. "Or perhaps she simply recognizes love when she sees it, as I have learned to do." "Love," Merewen whispered the word like a prayer. "Love," he confirmed. "I love your strength and your gentleness. I love your quick mind and your generous heart.
I love the way you tend the sick in the village, the way you help Eleanor manage our household, the way you make everyone around you feel valued and heard." He brought his hands to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to each palm. "I love you, Merewen of Millbrook. All of you, with all of me." The last of her resistance crumbled. How could she deny what her heart had known since that first night on the road, when he had given her his cloak and asked nothing in return? How could she reject this gift of love freely offered when she had thought never to know such joy? "And I love you," she whispered, the words feeling both strange and perfectly natural. "I love your honor, your protective nature, the way you see beyond station to the person beneath. I love that you risked everything to save a stranger, and that you offered freedom even when you hoped I might choose to stay. Then you will marry me?"
Instead of answering with words, she rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle, reverent, full of promise and hope. When they broke apart, both were breathing unsteadily. "Is that answer enough?" she asked, smiling up at him. "More than enough." He swept her into his arms, spinning her around the fountain as she laughed with pure joy. "Eleanor will be insufferably smug about being right. She deserves to be. She has been a true sister to me, more family than I've known since my mother died. She will be your sister in truth soon enough." He set her down, but kept his arms around her waist. "We could wed within the month, if you wish it." "So soon?" "I have waited 26 years to find you, beloved. I see no virtue in waiting longer now that I have." His expression grew serious again. "Unless you need more time to be certain." "I am certain." The truth of it rang in her voice. "I have been certain since you told that room full of strangers that I was worth more than gold. No one had ever valued me so highly before." "Then they were fools, every one." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "You are worth more than gold, more than lands or titles or the good opinion of narrow minds. You are worth everything to me." A month later, Merewen stood in Thornfield's chapel, wearing Eleanor's wedding gown, altered to fit her smaller frame. The silk was deep blue, the color of midnight skies, embroidered with silver threads that caught the light from dozens of candles. Her hair was braided with pearl ribbons, and she carried a bouquet of late roses from Eleanor's garden. The chapel was full, despite the unconventional nature of the match. The village folk had come in force, along with many of Gareth's knights and several neighboring lords who valued his friendship over social convention. Even Lord William of Ashford had made the journey, bringing his blessing and a magnificent tapestry as wedding gift. But Merewen saw none of the guests, focused only on Gareth waiting at the altar. He wore his finest doublet, deep green wool with gold thread, and his sword belt bore the ceremonial blade that had been his grandfather's. When their eyes met across the chapel, his face lit with such love and joy that several women in the congregation sighed audibly. Father Benedict performed the ceremony with dignity and warmth, speaking of love that transcends earthly boundaries and partnerships built on mutual respect and devotion. When the time came for vows, Gareth's voice was steady and strong. "I, Gareth of Thornfield, take thee, Merewen, for my wedded wife. I promise to love and protect you, to honor your wisdom and cherish your heart, to stand beside you in joy and sorrow all the days of my life." Merewen's response was equally clear. "I, Merewen of Millbrook, take thee, Gareth, for my wedded husband. I promise to love and support you, to share your burdens and multiply your joys, to walk beside you as partner and friend until death parts us." When Father Benedict pronounced them man and wife, Gareth's kiss was gentle but thorough,
earning cheers and laughter from the congregation. The feast that followed lasted well into the night. There was music and dancing, storytelling and toasts to the happy couple. Lord William raised his goblet high and declared that any man wise enough to recognize true worth deserved every happiness. Eleanor wept joyful tears and embraced her new sister warmly. But the moment Merewen treasured most came near evening's end, when she and Gareth stepped outside for a breath of cool air. They found themselves back in the herb garden where he had proposed, the fountain singing its gentle song under stars that seemed to shine more brightly than before. "Do you regret anything?" he asked softly, pulling her close against his side. "Only that it took nearly losing everything to find you," she replied, then reconsidered. "No, not even that. Perhaps we needed to be tested to understand how precious this gift truly is. You are wise as well as beautiful, Lady Thornfield." Lady Thornfield. The title still felt strange, but increasingly right. She had found her place at last, not as someone's property or burden, but as a partner, an equal, a beloved wife. "And you, my lord husband, are the most honorable man in England. High praise from the woman worth more than gold." They stood together in comfortable silence, surrounded by the scents of herbs and flowers, wrapped in love and starlight and the promise of all the years to come. Behind them, the great hall glowed with warmth and laughter. Before them stretched a future built on respect, devotion, and the revolutionary idea that love might matter more than station after all. In the distance, church bells began to ring midnight, welcoming a new day. Merewen smiled and turned her face up to her husband's, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring.